The latest insanity is the mask mandate on airplanes being extended, on trains. And some people out there say, well, it's not that big of a deal to wear a mask on an airplane. Well, first of all, it's been 2 years. And secondly, I do think it's a massive deal because the message that is being sent when you or I go to a train station or we go to an airport and we have to be wearing masks, and there are constantly people hectoring us and saying, pull up your mask, you can't leave it down for too long while you're taking a bite. All of this is the height of absurdity. And even if there is going to be an attempt to bring back masks, which is certainly happening in Philadelphia and parts of Washington, D.C., other cities out there, even if that is going to happen, eventually getting this thing rescinded sends the message that we can return in some form to normalcy. Buck, CNN, not surprisingly, was excited for the mask mandates extension. Here was their reporting just a little bit ago when this news broke.
Breaking news on the pandemic. A source telling CNN that the CDC plans to extend the federal mask mandate for public transportation. An official announcement is expected to come today. CNN's Pete Montine is live in Washington with all the details now on this. Pete, tell us more.
Well, Kate, multiple sources are now telling us there will be a 15-day extension of the transportation mask mandate. That will take us to May 3rd. This means that masks will still be required on planes, trains, buses, boats, and also in terminals.
You know, there's a statistically significance of 0 for mask mandates on planes. Just for everybody out there, I want to remind everyone that New York City, this is often left out of this. I mean, Clay and I are looking at each other like, I mean, do Democrats who like this stuff know how stupid they are on this topic? Do they really not understand how dumb they seem? I guess the answer, of course, is no. They think they're smart because they listen to the science. But New York City did a pretty exhaustive early study about how much COVID was being spread in restaurants. And what they came up with was, this was the city of New York's numbers. Remember, this is the most locked down place really in the whole country, totally lost its mind. Clay, it was about 1%. They thought that about 1 in 100 cases of COVID were actually spreading. The primary place where COVID spreads is actually in the home. So what happens is one person goes home, there's 6 people in the house, and then guess what? That one person now has an R of 6, or however they do that, R, not R0, that whole thing. There's I forget what they call it. Remember in the beginning we all knew about the... The
R spread, basically, how many people does each infected person spread the virus?
Yeah, but so you give it to 6.
Big discussion.
You give it to 6 people. So if you have an R of 1, that means every person who gets it's likely to give it to one person. Well, if you give it to 6 people or 10 people or whatever in a home environment, obviously it's going to spread very, very rapidly. The point here being, though, even beyond that, airplanes are they've managed to do something that almost defies belief, Clay. Children are at the lowest risk, young children at the lowest risk from COVID. And they are the last ones to have to mask up as a function of policy in their day-to-day lives outside of a healthcare setting, okay? Toddlers. So the exact opposite of the data. And then in terms of congregate settings, to borrow the Fauci term, the probable safest place you can be based on the HEPA filtration systems on an airplane, if you're going to be in a group setting, is an airplane. And that is the last place that it seems they, as a matter of federal policy, are maintaining the mask mandate.
Do you think they will extend it on May 3rd?
Yep.
So they've extended it 15 days.
They keep going.
I wonder whether the attack, which is a very legitimate one that I'm trying to drive as hard as I can, Title 42 being removed is a disaster. But the CDC saying that the border is now safe enough that we don't need extensive COVID protocol protection under Title 42, I don't understand how they can reconcile those two differences.
So they won't, though, right? Because the left has a superhuman tolerance for hypocrisy. This is one thing that you've seen all throughout the pandemic. We say These mask mandates are so stupid and arbitrary. Look at Nancy Pelosi in the hair salon. Look at London Breed in the discotheque or whatever nightclub. Sorry, discotheque.
Yeah,
It's like
discotheque. Yeah, it's like 1980s Europe here.
But look at all Gavin Newsom having dinner at French Laundry, fanciest restaurant in the country, and we say, see, and the Democrats go, well, nobody's perfect. We love the policy. They don't care, right? The hypocrisy is a necessity to be an orthodox leftist in America today. So, we should talk about it because independents who are listening, and it's also good to remind our people that we're right and they're wrong, which is also the truth about all of this. And we have been right and they have been wrong. But yeah, Clay, you're right. The Title 42 thing exposes hypocrisy, and they're just going to go, yeah, so what? We have the power to do it.
I think that's true. The reason why I think it's important, because some people say, I get so tired of the hypocrisy being exposed. I do think it's important because to me, it's like a boxing match, and those are body blows. And to your point, Buck, there are a lot of people right now who probably said, man, I never thought I would listen to Clay and Buck and agree with what these guys are saying, that are independents, that may even consider themselves to be Democrats. I think we kind of hinted at it a little bit. There's a fabulous front page story in the Wall Street Journal focused on New Jersey lifelong Democrats who COVID has turned them into Republicans. And I was talking with a friend a couple months ago, and I think I mentioned it on this show, and he said COVID turning Democrats into Republicans, he thinks, is going to be the number one story in 2022's election numbers. When those come out, a lot of these suburban moms, we already saw it with Glenn Youngkin. We almost saw it in New Jersey when Murphy was incredibly fortunate to barely hang on there, despite the fact that Biden won New Jersey by 13 points and he won Virginia by 10. I mean, that was nearly a monumental swing there.
Yeah.
And instead, I think we're going to have tons of these independents and tons of these otherwise Democrats. One, I think they're listening to us right now and they're nodding their heads and they're saying, yeah, I never would have thought this would be me, but you guys are right on this. And every one of these hypocrisies is another body blow, and more people come over to our side.
And I just think, Clay, as we get closer to this, I really hope that there will be Republican ads all across the country that show small children in these oppressive masks outside in the cold eating their lunch while unmasked teachers walk around them because, they're adults, and just show everybody this is what the Democrat Party has become. If they could get away with having drones fly through the sky to tell you to shut up and stay inside and steal your pet and put it in a mesh bag, the Democrats would do that too. These people are out of their minds. They're out of their minds. COVID has broken them.
And those ads, to your point, I think that's 100% a golden idea. Put the kids in the masks and then contrast it with all the Democratic politicians partying, getting caught hypocritically violating their own rules. That's gonna land like a body blow, man. A lot of people who are sitting around and see that are going to get furious.
The Youngkin effect of what we saw in Virginia, where a huge driver of that, there were a lot of things, but a huge driver of that was all the parents who were furious with the school system betraying their kids, which it absolutely did. The school system in Democrat-controlled states betrayed children for the benefit of teachers' unions, affecting millions of kids. And parents should be furious about it, and they should take action on it, because otherwise they'll do it again.